Good morning, everyone. It's just coming up to about 20 minutes past 8 here in Les Sables d'Olonne, and a little bit later than planned. I actually had a tracker down for about an hour or so early this morning, but it's come up again now, so back on track. And we'll give you an overview of the 5 that are racing to the finish back here. And it's a bit of a mixed bag right now, so we'll start at the back end of the fleet here. We'll zoom in a bit and look at Tapio and Istvan. Certainly at the moment they're both doing okay. Oh, that's probably a little bit too big. You can see this big storm down the bottom here. It's missing Tapio. He's currently, if we just come up over here, he's currently doing pretty well with plenty of breeze, 4.2 knots. And the forecast for him is looking pretty reasonable. This big system down the bottom is going to go over him pretty clearly in the next couple of days. Let's just go a day ahead. Good sailing breezes, that'll keep him moving along. Day 2 gets a bit lighter on the 19th in a couple of days towards the end, but it's still all in the right direction from behind him, or it's going to go to the south as that system moves through. So we'll come over for another day, bit of a hole. He might have a chance to get those barnacles again if there's no sharks around. So generally Tapio's doing pretty well. Goes to a light northerly again, so no surprises for him in the next 4 or 5 days. So that's cool. We'll come back to real-time weather now and look at Istvan's situation. He was really lucky the other day when there was that big storm bearing down on him. He went way south and the system broke up and he got through okay, so that's pretty good. But now the game's changed, and in fact the whole system here, with all these low pressure systems and heavy winds, is changing rapidly. When I looked at it last night about 8 hours ago, this particular storm looked as if it was forming up very tight and would possibly go to the south of him, and he had to miss this storm above here. But what's actually happened, the storm above him has actually opened up a bit, so that's not such a big issue. And let's just watch what happens here as the days go forward. Right now he's doing pretty well. He's making 5.4 knots. I've got to pick the right scale here so you can see this one coming through. 5.4 knots, so I'll just focus on there. And if we go forward, so that's pleasant sailing. He's probably got 25 knots there from the west. We come forward a day, and things are he's missed the one at the top. It's moved way out to the east, so that's not an issue. He'll move along, so that's the 18th. Let's go through to the 19th. He's got some solid northwesterly winds coming through. At this stage we've got to just determine which is the best thing to do for Istvan. Looks as if he had gone south, he might miss this one. That's 2 days ahead, so we'll consider that. But it's looking like if we watch the way that progresses a little bit of a day, it's not doing anything. It's not getting more intense, it's not getting less either, so there's a fair bit of wind there. So to avoid that, we could actually send him south, but whether we do or not depends on what's coming next, because if we go through to the 20th, so that's 3 days from now, still looks okay. If we go through to the 21st, we've got this little number coming here, and this is, I'll click this through. It's still a long way away, so anything can happen, but it's starting to intensify, gets a little bit less. So there's another big wind band there of breeze that we're not sure exactly what's going to happen. By this stage, this is the 22nd, so that's 5 days ahead. Istvan's going to be over here somewhere, and it's going to be nearly impossible to miss this one. It's just over too much of an area, so we'll just have to see how that progresses in terms of forming its own weather system, and look to give Istvan some advice as it gets closer. You can see there it moves up pretty quickly, so it's too far out to give him some advice on this one for now, but certainly Istvan's got some typical Southern Ocean over the next few days. That's right through to the 22nd, so that's another 5 days ahead. As we see what it's going to do, we'll possibly give Istvan some more advice. So he's in the Southern Ocean, no question about that. All's good at the moment. He's making good speed to the east, heading towards Cape Horn, which is great. So let's go across here now to Uku. This is the big winds that we suggested a day or so ago for Uku to slow up a bit. because we didn't want him there right now. He'd hook up in the best of this. But if I click this through every 3 hours, that's what he's got at the moment. So he did slow up for a bit, but then we gave him the all clear last night and said, yeah, go for it. You'll come in behind this system now and all's good. So he's making 5.4 knots. He's probably got 35 knots there, maybe even a little bit higher. Let's have a look and see what the sea state is there at the moment. We'll go for waves. He's probably, yeah, he's got 5-6 metre seas there, and it'll start to drop down a little bit as it goes. But I'll give you a 3 hourly update and you'll see. So there's one. Come on, oh, it's not clicking, hang on. I just got to, when you do anything here, if you want to do every 3 hours, you have to hit that little slider bar, then you can use your left and right arrows. So there's 3 hours. You can see in 3 hours it's moved quite a lot. There's another 3 hours, so that's 6 hours from now. It's dropping back quickly, disappearing. So there's 9 hours. There's 12 hours from now. It's all starting to get reasonable. He'll be making fast time. That's 18 hours. It's all dying off, and it's a good window for him to get around. A few little bits there, but that's now about a day ahead of where he is now, day and a half. So it's all clearing up. And to put a distance on that, right now, he's got there to, come on, where's our second one? It's not coming up. Okay, I'll just reboot that and we'll try it again. So here's one, there's the other one. So he's a couple of days away. So it all looks pretty good for Igor for Uku to get around before everything goes really light and he gets becalmed, because that's eventually what will happen. So Uku is looking pretty good, and now for the main game, you might say, who's wants to take the podium position, even though, come on, everything's acting a bit slow here. So we'll look at Mark and Jean-Luc. They're making their way up pretty well, but Mark's coming into what we'd call the headwind zone here, which I explained on Saturday. This is the headwind zone. He's just zipping into it. He's doing all right at the moment because it's just still hooking at the bottom, just above this trough, making 4.8 knots. And Jean-Luc's still got a bit of a, oh, hang on, we're not in real-time weather here, that's why. Slide that back. Okay, Jean-Luc's still able to claw north, making 5.5 knots on course, because you can see here the wind is coming across from the east. He's right on the turn point there, and that can change. So he's racing north to get up into these more consistent easterlies, and that's actually east-southeasterly, so it's even better angle for him. And Mark has got headwinds, very distinct headwinds, but doing really well. 4.8 knots, he's obviously short tacking there, and the wind speed and strength is perfect there. He's got sort of what I'd call probably 15 knots, maybe a bit more headwinds, and that's nice for him. The sea will be right down, so he's able to claw to windward really well. Let's just see what happens to both of them as the days go forward. So we come through to here, that's 24 hours time. Jean-Luc is running out of air, but at least the wind direction is there, so he should still be able to push this wind, which is starting to swing a little bit more on the nose, but the sea will be down, so that's good. Mark getting a bit of a break. It's hooking around, so it's not quite too hard on the nose. He'll peel out on port tack here. He'll come out in that direction, so he'll still be making okay moves. Let's go forward another day. There's another day there, and if Jean-Luc's racing the wind change direction here, so he needs to keep pushing north, which he will be doing anyway, but it's touch and go. It's light winds. He's not going to make a lot of distance north, and then he's still got some light headwinds. This is where the change zone is. This is the east, so he's trying to get up there, but it's just fluking around a bit because the center of the high pressure is a bit all over the place. And Mark is, he's right on this trough then. He'll be a little bit further forward, so still got light headwinds. So the battle for these two still continues. It's very much weather dependent on what happens. Again, Jean-Luc will just be hitting the edge of this turn in wind direction, and Mark, well, it's got a bit of a kick around, so he might just be able to keep moving out on port tack. So they're all clawing each other, probably holding their ground. Okay, up another day, the 21st, so that's nearly 4 days in front. Again, Jean-Luc is going to be struggling there. Mark struggling here. So I think they'll be holding their own. Jean-Luc has actually taken a bit of distance out. Let's go one more day ahead. Yeah, wow. Stronger headwinds for Mark. And the angle is coming around a bit. So they're still going to be pushing each other hard. Let's just look at the distance between the two of them at the moment. We've got near enough to 780 miles. So Jean-Luc's probably picked up about 50 miles on, maybe 50 miles on Mark in the last couple of days. So not as much as what I would have thought, but for Jean-Luc, it all depends on this turn point for the wind direction. We're expecting an announcement from Igor today, so listen out for that. He's still adamant about being Chichester, so that's all good. And watch this space. All looking very interesting. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you again later on.